Here we are. Good morning. It's Monday, March 14th. We're here at Digital Accelerants Mondays live at 11. When this morning we're with Bruce Weinstein, the insurance guru. So let me do a quick intro from Bruce. Bruce sent me about 4 pages about on his bio. I'm just kidding. But I'll read part of it. So since 1986, Bruce has consistently offered his clients the insights, strategies, and a clear direction designed to help them make educated financial decisions and prepare themselves for their futures. So Bruce's extensive knowledge in wealth planning and protection, retirement, estate, educational, and life insurance solutions allows him to provide a level of service to his clients personalized to help meet each of their specific needs and goals, and allows him to provide a level of service to his clients personalized to help meet each of their specific needs and goals. So welcome Bruce Weinstein, the plan man.
Thank you, Gabe. Good
Hmm.
morning.
No worries. So, and as a matter of fact, you talked about this was a few weeks ago where you talked about you were teaching some young insurance people or some,
Right,
you
it was
know,
a conference.
I think that what struck me is that is the lack of stuff that they knew that they did not know that you knew just because of your experience, right?
Right.
And you were trying to help them, but some of them didn't even seem to be interested. Was it something like that or?
Well, I've been attending different conferences around the country in the insurance space, and what tends to happen is you think of it as a jack of all trades and a master of none. And so a lot of new agents will concentrate on one specific discipline. They may
Mhm.
only do Medicare, may only do health, they may only do life.
Right.
And so to build their business and get it ramped up, they stay in their own lane.
Mhm.
So for me, the evolution of my career, again, 35 years, is I can at least not trying to break my arm, pat myself on the back, is I think I'm a master of all, not just one.
Right.
And so as I speak in the the settings, the environments with other agents, it's getting them to add tools to their toolbox, right? Why lose opportunities if you and I know each other or meet at a networking event and all I offer is life insurance and you say I need health insurance, well, we're not going to do business, right? Because
Right.
I don't have a way to do that. So I I promote to them never say no to an opportunity and either have a strategic partner, which could be somebody like myself or you, right? Somebody
Mhm.
who's in that particular area that is missing. And that's the power of these networking groups in general.
Mhm. Very
What's up?
good. So yeah, and I'll just put in a quick plug for Bruce. Bruce is my handle my Medicare stuff, but not just that. I really get the sense from him that he does know his stuff when it comes to all things insurance. So if you need any kind of insurance, I would highly recommend that you text the word "plan man" to 21,000 to get his digital business card. So I hear that there's a podcast in the works.
We have our logo shirt on today, as a matter of fact.
Okay, so this is kind of interesting to me because um, I guess what this is kind of sort of a podcast ish type thing.
Sure.
I'm not doing it to the level that you're doing it, and I just started the Mondays live at 11 came as a brainchild from the Power Hour that we do every week, right?
Right.
We were talking about StreamYard and I thought it was really not on my radar to be doing anything like this. But when I've discovered that this would be a way that I could add value to my clients by allowing them, interviewing each one of them or whatever, then I thought, well, this is great. So this is really, but again, this isn't to the extent of what you're doing. And I mean, the big keyword today is podcasting, is everybody is
Right.
getting into it, and there's just a lot to it. So if somebody,
You hit a couple of key pieces is whether you're doing the Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live as you're doing it. I've been doing things along those lines, and the evolution for me as I learned and educated myself on the dynamic world of podcasting, and all the apps that are on your phone that I never knew
Mhm.
existed, right? Is for me to get a broader reach of an audience, especially for what we do, the podcast just seemed like a natural fit. So I'll elaborate. So it's called Ask the Plan Man. Everything you want to know about finances, insurance, and investments, but we're afraid to ask. And I came up with that in the sense because in my 30 plus 35 years of being in the business, I have learned and dealt with headwinds in the corporate world, the big finance. If you don't have a certain amount of money, if you're not willing to buy a certain size policy, a lot of places won't talk to you. And when I started as a financial advisor, stockbroker in 1986 at Merrill Lynch, I was 23. I didn't know Gabe O'Neill's who needed Medicare, right? I didn't
Mhm.
know people 40 years older than me yet. So I was cold calling out of a phone book and just trying to find opportunities to resonate with somebody of how I could help them. And so I didn't have a line in the sand. If you had $2,000 to open up an IRA, we did business. Again,
Right.
that's a long time ago, right? And so the the foundation of my podcast is going to allow people a safe environment, judgmental zone free, where
Mhm.
they can ask questions that they've probably never known where they can go, who they can talk to, and get what could be just be, basic finance 101 type stuff. But it, I was sharing with you before we went live, we were doing a rollout the other day at a preschool, and we're dealing with mostly, nursery, preschool level teachers, and we're bringing a retirement plan to the facility. And they had questions as basic as, well, I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't know what a
Mhm.
401k is. I don't know what a
Right.
mutual fund is. How much can I put away? How does that work later? What if I want to get that money out fast? I
Right.
don't want to wait till I'm 60 years of age. So their questions were very, again, basic in nature, only
Mhm.
because of my years of experience.
Right.
But it just solidified what the plan man's going to be about is, and we said to every one of them, check out our podcast. You call us anytime, whatever we can do. There's no bad questions. It
Mhm.
just, we want to give advice and guidance, whether we do the business with them or point them in the right direction, differently. We just want to have that for them. So
So, we know that the podcast isn't live yet because there's a lot of preparation that goes into creating one. So, if for somebody out there that's interested in, maybe doing something a podcast themselves, I mean, I guess there's a lot of different levels that you can do.
sure.
But I know that you're working with
Rena.
Rena McGill, and she's another client of ours. Podcast Easy to 21,000. So, um, and actually, a service that she provides is amazing.
It's
It's
great.
she kind of
I, could,
really
I couldn't do it without her. That's for
right.
sure.
I mean, yeah, I think the idea behind what she does, as I understand it, is
Yeah.
that she takes your podcast and kind of packages it and distributes it so it can in all those places that you have no idea how to
That's right.
get to, right? I mean, if I were to, I mean, it's the same thing for me. I know how to get this to LinkedIn and Facebook, and that's it. But she's got like hundreds of distribution channels that she gets your stuff out in. So, and so what's involved in the planning of that and preparation?
So the podcast easy format, they've got some software, web page browser, login stuff, and there's just checklist after checklist of items to go through. And part of the package I have, and they have different level packages, so certainly depending on your budget, you can find something to fit. And I get an engineer, I get a producer, and they've already answered and done all the homework of research. So
Mhm.
I don't have to sit there, you and I don't have to sit there and spend time learning how to do a podcast and put the hours and hours of time in to do the due diligence and do the preparation. So you're using this StreamYard as your tool. And in
Right.
the podcast world, there's some tools to be using where you record and then they edit it and then let's say, broadcast it out. And I think her last session I seen with her is they went from in the 30s to now pushing 50, that there's 50 different platforms for podcast hosting or
Hmm.
access. And
Right.
so once you and I do the content and give it to the engineer, they're going to clean it up. They're going to put your soundtrack around it. They're going to put your banners and the blogging pieces and the captions and titling it. And then they're going to post it on a drop date based upon what you picked. So if we're going to drop it on a Sunday evening, so people have it for Monday morning on their morning, drive or whatever,
Hmm.
then you have your scheduling done. And for me, my primary focus is to bring in the guests and the questions from the audience and then have that collaboration and then let them do their magic and get it out there.
Hmm. And so you're going to do this weekly?
Yeah, we're looking to do a weekly show, 20 to 30 minutes, keep it, fairly brief, not put people to sleep.
Right.
But as I've been promoting this, I've been, I don't want to say bombarded, but I have been consistently sent Facebook messengers or cell phone messages, and people, can I talk to you? I've got questions. And I'm like, that's a great question, Gabe. Why don't you come on the show with me? Right. Like
Hmm.
and so it's amazing that once you start to put the fairy dust out there, that
Right.
people will start raising their hand. So I
Interesting.
want to have real live people come on, whether they're going to be comfortable going on camera or not. But, I kind of think of it like a radio, daytime driving talk show type of format. We probably won't have the capacity to go live, without the
Right.
editing and stuff. But
Right.
I could see it being like a daily talk show, like some of the big names that have been doing certain things. We don't have to
Hmm.
drop their names, but people know who they are,
Hmm.
and just give people access.
Hmm.
It's really about access.
So what kind of guests are you looking for?
We're going to have financial advisors that handle the wealth management side, meaning the investments. There's different licenses they possess that we don't. So we would have people in that capacity. Think of like a Merrill Lynch advisor or people who are independent advisors in that capacity. We're going to have mortgage brokers to talk about credit scoring, applying, pre-approvals. We'll have realtors. There's obviously investment property opportunities that people, investments mean a lot of different things. It's not picking Apple stock or, what's a mutual fund and things of that nature. So, we'll have estate planning attorneys, tax advisors like CPAs, anything that's in the financial forum that we think the audience will have interest, desire, or questions. I know nothing about the Bitcoin, world of
Hmm.
cyber coins or whatever, what blockchain and all that. So, we're talking to people, interviewing them a little bit and pre-screening them to have them come on, because I'm not the talking influence on that side of things. I know nothing about it. So,
Hmm.
and so as more people will come in with questions, we can find guests or, speaking uh, partners to come in and answer the questions and give people, that those
So
answers, that information.
so since you're offloading a lot of the production, as you said, in the editing and the distribution, the time that it's going to take you per week is fairly much limited to finding the guests and maybe figuring out what questions to ask them and et cetera, things like that. And then the
Hopefully,
actual half hour, right?
yeah. I mean, I've been speaking to some other people that have podcasts, been doing it for a year or two, and getting some suggestions from them. Some of them just record 3 or 4 sessions in a day. They'll
Uh-huh.
just break it up and then they'll chop it up and give it to their editors. So, it's, to me, it's going to be a work in progress to get a flow and a voice, and you may start over here and wind up over there.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to not obsess about perfection and just get it out there and then see where it goes. And if it winds up just being me, without guests, at some point, how many times you're going to have a CPA on, right? It just, you know
Right.
35 times might be too
But
many.
but yeah, but there's a lot of different financial. So I
Correct.
mean, I can think of a lot of people that own digital cards that would be good. Tara might be a good one, and Dominic, and there's a lot of folks
Yeah.
that I mean, you just hit the financial thing on the and the digital business cards, and there's a bunch of them.
Yeah,
So and each person is going to have their own flavor and way of approaching things and way of
exactly.
communicating and all that. So it's all good. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that goes. Um, so how do you think this is going to help your business? I mean, I mean, did you create it? I mean, obviously, folks like us who are in business, we do what we can to to bring in more business, right?
Right, right.
Is
Mhm.
that what this is? Is that what the goal is here?
Well, there's an undercurrent, sure. The Some of the business coaches that I have been following and working with over the years is being a person of interest and having people come to you as the authority in your space.
Hmm.
And so based on some of that learning, this has been my evolution is I need to be more known. I've been getting known
Right,
on Facebook, I've been getting known in networking groups, but now here's a international, not that we do business internationally, but
right.
podcasting is international, right? It's everywhere, global.
Hmm.
So it gets us known. And so the byproduct is some people may ask us for help. Some people will be able to help. Some people we won't be able to help
Hmm.
personally or directly for our business. But
Right,
then if I have that Merrill Lynch person there, or I have this estate planning attorney here, or a commercial realtor that comes on, is well, they would ultimately pick up opportunities as well as the questions or the needs present themselves. If people don't know where to go, they're going to come at least ask, "Hey, who do you know to get me that digital business card?" Well, I know Gabe. Let me
hmm,
introduce you to Gabe. So it'll feed in that regard. And then I think another piece of it, as you started today's uh, broadcast a little bit, was you asking about my speaking and talking to agents in the insurance space and them being siloed or
right.
very focused. Is there could be agents out there that say, "Hey, I only do health insurance. I've got clients that ask about Medicare. I got clients that ask about
Hmm.
life insurance. Maybe I'll partner with Bruce and bring those opportunities, since he seems like an authority or understands the business enough, and it's going to help them." So there could be potential relationships developed with more insurance agents, which we collaborate with a lot across the country. So
Hmm. I'm just curious. I had a thought about how you get your podcast known. I know that Rena distributes it out there, but
yeah,
I mean, there's also becoming more and more, I wouldn't say a glut, but just a huge amount of people that are getting into this business. How do you
sure.
end up standing out and becoming known? What's that process?
I don't know. That's a Rena question, I guess.
Well, does she help with
It's
that?
yeah, I think they so for me, the steps are you build a trailer, which is kind of your commercial
Right.
about your podcast, and they put that out for about a 30-day lead time as I think they call it like priming the pump. Like you
Okay.
want to get it known. So once the trailer's built, I can put it on my LinkedIn, my Facebook, my,
Right.
Instagrams or whatever, and start to promote it. And then like you and I do in the YouTube space, you put it on YouTube and you want people to like it and share it and
Right.
comment on it. And so it's all algorithms across the board in
Right.
all of that capacity. And I would have to think it's ultimately word of mouth that starts and then it just becomes hopefully viral. And you and I could be the next Kardashians out there.
Right, right. Well, I think what you said is that is as the priming the pump thing. I think that so that Rena does have a kind of
Yeah.
that's part of the plan is
Yes,
to
I
get
believe
it promoted out in the beginning, and that's good because again, it's anything that you start is difficult. So I mean, as I said, her service just really sounds really valuable for people who are getting involved in this. It just sounds like she's got a lot of everything covered, so that's great.
Yeah,
Um,
and again, she has different entry levels. So
mhm,
we're at, I would say, the high end with the 120 minutes a month, which is 4 30-minute sessions or
right,
two
mhm,
60 minutes. So
right,
people can start for smaller amounts, I believe, than that, and just do one a month or an hour or a half hour. So you'll pay for the time that you want. So obviously for me, I want to commit to the biggest package to
right,
get the most volume out there. And so, I kind of felt like, yeah, I should be doing a weekly. I think once a week, having something new and fresh to keep introducing is, you don't want to go stale, right? If I don't see you for 3 months, are we going to be able to do business during those 90 days?
Right.
Maybe we
Mhm.
will, maybe we won't. But seeing each other once a week, once a month is a big difference.
Mhm.
So if you're trying to build an audience, just look, at some point, maybe I only go every other week or monthly, but at least to get known and prime that pump, I think I
Right.
need all of them.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That was my
So, let's again let's talk about and move over to insurance a bit. Um, what is your do you have a quote unquote favorite that you like to deal with?
favorite type of insurance.
Yeah, that you like to talk about, that you like to and to provide people with.
Well, that's a great question. And everything in the insurance space is to solve a problem, right? Insurance is risk reassignment.
Mhm.
Either you and I take on the risk. If that event is monstrous in dollars, I don't want to be liable for that car replacement, right? If
Right.
somebody goes and hits my $50,000 car that I just bought, and I don't have collision insurance, do I want to go buy another $50,000 car for cash and throw the other one away? So
Right.
I have, and the same with your homeowners, or and then so their health and the life, and you go down the list. But what I probably talk the least about, because it's a different audience, is the type of estate planning work that we do using life insurance and how it creates liquidity, survivor benefits. We do private pension work. We create tax-free income streams. So that's more on the other end of the spectrum as far as net worth and dollar access.
Mhm.
But it doesn't mean that, like, we just did two policies over the weekend. The couple's I don't even think the wife is 30. I think she's like 29 and he's like 35. They got $1 million of life insurance on each of them, and hers is like $350 for the year. Like but
Mhm.
they have children, they have a business,
Right.
they have a mortgage. And so, life insurance, I don't want to describe it. One of my taglines is, two things in life are guaranteed, and we help you with both.
Mhm.
And that alludes to death and taxes,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So people are funny when it comes to life insurance because they feel like they're betting against themselves. If I have life insurance, somebody's going to benefit from my dying, right? And I don't want anybody, to be rewarded or have
Mhm.
an incentive at my death, right? But the reality is, if you have a spouse and you have children, or a significant other, doesn't have to be a spouse, but you have children, you have minor children, you have debts and liabilities, well, somebody's going to have to pick up the slack, right?
Mhm.
Like, where does that come from? So, whether it's in a very affordable life insurance like term insurance, or something longer ended with permanent insurance, it just depends on what the needs are. And so, you hear me say I have nothing to sell, just problems to solve. Is, well, what's the problem? You're like, what are we
Mhm.
looking at? Well, I have a $500,000 mortgage. I got a 2-year old and a 4-year old. I work and make $100,000 a year. My wife stays home and watches the kids. What do I need for me to protect my family? Because if I don't come home from work one day and I'm 6 feet in the ground, how is she keeping the house? How is she raising the children? How is she making back that $100,000 of income?
Right. Mhm.
That's a problem to solve for, right? How much
Mhm.
insurance, life insurance, do you need in case something like that happens? And so term insurance will evaporate over time. So, but it's affordable to cover during that window. So when the kids are 18 and 22 and out of the house and the mortgage is paid off, and you're financially flusher, right? The
Right.
mortgage is paid down, you have assets in the bank. Well, now you're somewhat self-insured, right? But a young couple's not self-insured yet. So
Right.
that's where these tools come in. So I mean, if you're gathering, I would say, life insurance is probably the biggest piece and the most poignant. Um, I'll go off the reservation with this one for a second because it still breaks my heart. But we have a dear friend that passed away a year ago,
Mhm.
had an accident in his work vehicle, and I've known them for over 20 years. And the frank answer, Gabe, was he wouldn't stop smoking, and they didn't want to pay the higher rates that a smoker
Right.
received,
Right.
which was like 3 to 5 times the normal non-smoker rate.
Right.
And so every year, they never stopped smoking. And every year, they never got the life insurance they needed because they found it to be too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, making a turn, coming home from work, he got hit head on and eventually perished from it. My age, 57,
Mm-hmm.
58, and financially devastating to the family. GoFundMe pages, and the daughter going to college, and the wife doesn't have the capability to make the kind of income he was making, and mortgage still on the property, like everything we just said, like all these holes. And it breaks my heart because they made a decision not to get it because of the smoker classification.
Mm-hmm.
And I want that message out there without pointing fingers and judging, but you know it could have been avoided, it could have been better. Decisions were made, and so you have to look at your budget and you have to make your priority list. You can drown in insurance, right? We could talk about 20 different types of insurance that people just gag on and have no money to buy food
Mm-hmm.
instead. So you have to prioritize.
What about business insurance? You're talking about earlier. What if I'm a solopreneur or an entrepreneur? What are the first types of insurances that I should look at?
So you can start with your health insurance for you, your family, and then potentially your employees.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big bug these days in the insurance world, is people are looking for health benefits. So if you're a business owner looking to attract talent or retain your talent and you're not offering them these types of benefits, that's your first line of defense. Disability insurance, if you're a solopreneur, right, and you're doing your thing, building digital accelerant, and something were to happen to you where now you can't do the broadcast, you can't get the work done, how are you getting your income? How are you paying your bills? So a self-employed is much more reliant on getting their own disability insurance. And then if there's partners or there's key employees, you have what's called key man insurance or key person insurance, key woman insurance, key person. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you're the owner of your business and you've got you know, your IT guy, right? I mean, I know you're the IT guy, but
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
you have somebody that is really you're reliant upon to do a huge portion of the workload to, like Rena to me, right? Rena's my workload
Mm-hmm.
offshoot that I've hired, right? So if I had them in house and Rena worked for me exclusively and something happened to Rena, well, I have to keep paying Rena potentially,
Right.
uh, benefits. And then I've got to replace Rena while she's out. And so that's key man disability.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's say you and I were partners in a business and we each had spouses, which we do. And
Mm-hmm.
you and I are 50-50 partners and our business grows and it's worth millions of dollars. I keel over one day. My wife is inheriting 50% of that business and is your new business partner. Right? You,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want my wife as your new business partner. You just want to take back, the control of the business. You don't have
Right.
to have that. But we're 50-50, so,
Right.
you're getting the package, right? So key man life insurance or buy sell agreements could be in place or utilized that provides liquidity to both business owners in the event the other were to prematurely pass away, and it provides the liquidity. So if my shares are worth 1 million and your shares are worth 1 million, we each have $1 million of life insurance so that you could write Robin a check. You're liquid. You didn't have to go find it, borrow it, cash in your own investments, take out a home equity line,
Mm-hmm.
and you could write her that check. She's going to turn over her shares that were mine, and now you obtain 100% control of the business. So those are, again, some techniques, tools, if you will, where insurance comes into play. So you have life insurance for the key man buy sell agreements. You have disability, key person, key man disability. You have individual disability for the business owner, and then your basic health insurance. And then we have 401k retirement plan options. We do AFLAC. dental, vision, accident
Hmm.
plans,
Hmm.
cancer plans. It's just across the board.
So, yeah, the disability thing, that's kind of interesting. So, is disability as expensive as health insurance, or is it typically less?
It's a different animal. It's going to be based upon the person's occupation and correlated to the risk of their occupation
Right.
and predicated on their income. So you have somebody, a dentist making $200,000 a year, is going to buy $150,000 of disability insurance. Something happens to the dentist's hands, how are they going to work, right?
Right.
So
Hmm.
if they lose the ability, their vision, their hands, their motor skills, they have an accident, they're paralyzed, God forbid, on one part of their body. If I'm 45 years of age, I just lost my income. I'm not dead, so my life insurance isn't paying, and I
Right.
got bills to pay. Right, I have kids to raise and a mortgage,
Hmm.
and I got to run my practice. So now I got to hire somebody to take over my practice or sell my practice. So,
Hmm.
but pricing wise is just going to be relative to their health, their age, their income. Um, I can't directly answer it based on the health insurance cost. It's different, and
Hmm.
it, their income's going to dictate. Certainly, the more benefit you want, right? If
Right.
you need $50,000 of coverage and somebody needs 150,000, well, they're going to pay a lot more
Right.
than you. Right?
Yeah, that's true. Very good.
But here's the stat. So there's all these actuarial numbers out there with life insurance. A baby born today has a life expectancy of blank, blank, and blank,
Right.
and
Hmm.
you hear all that data. And so there are certain statistics of what percentage of the population will die before reaching the age of 65. Okay, and I don't know that number off the top of my head anymore.
Hmm.
And then the disability is you've got a 1 in 7 chance of being disabled before the age of 65, which in a lot of cases will lead to their death as well. Obviously, if
Hmm.
something bad happened or they got really sick and they went on a disability and then passed away. So, whatever the stats are of the dying side, which is way lower, right? Might be 2%, might be 4 or 5%. But statistically, you're more likely to be disabled before the age of 65 than dying.
Hmm.
And yet disability is probably the least um, pushed or thought of vehicle, unless you're like a self-employed, like a lawyer, a dentist, doctor in that sense. They're the ones that are going to protect that income because they understand or they've been educated that you got to protect the sword.
Right. Hmm.
And we didn't talk about long-term care, which is a whole nother
Hmm.
animal, right? And for
Right.
the as you get older, so what happens is the disability insurance and the premiums my clients will have used over the years, God willing, they didn't have to collect.
Right.
Eventually, you'll transfer those premium dollars towards long-term care, which is the back end, because disability is going to stop at around Social Security age,
Hmm.
65 to 67. So it's not lifetime benefits for disability. It's until you become Social Security eligible,
Right.
right? But if that person still has challenges, or somebody who's healthy as they get older has challenges where they need skilled care, assisted living, nursing home type stuff, who's paying for that? So,
Right.
it's a whole nother conversation of insurance protection. So,
Very good. All right. Well, I think we've we've come to the end of our time here,
thank you.
and again, it's Ask the Plan Man. But it'd be date to be determined as to when
Completely.
it's going to launch. But just look at Bruce's. I mean, you can text Plan Man to 21,000 and ask to be put on some email list, and he'll let you know when it started.
Absolutely.
I'm sure he can do that.
On
Um,
on our card, you have a spot where our logo is, and when the website's live, that'll be a link, and people can go right to the our 21,000, get our digital card, and click on that to go get right to the website of Ask the Plan Man, and they'll
Very
see it.
good. Very good. Well, thanks, Bruce. I enjoyed our discussion.
Thank you for
And
having me.
Yeah, we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you, Gabe.